Ezekiel 34 verses 26. And I will make them and the places round about my hill a blessing, and I will cause the shower to come down in his season. There shall be showers of blessing. All right, dandelions. So before we get started, please bow your head. Please close your eyes, open your heart, or open your ears and listen to a blessing that I want to pray over you. So, dear Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing me to have a great day. Thank you for blessing me to come back to do another season of the podcast, Lord. Thank you so much. Thank you for your mercy, your grace. Thank you for the way you've moved on my behalf. Thank you for the healings you've given me, for the wisdom you've imparted on me. Thank you for walking with me and for talking with me and for helping me just get it together, Daddy. And so I ask as I sit with your children that you would fill me with your truth, that this will be inspired and prompted all about Jesus and the Holy Spirit from you, about you. I am just your vessel. Speak through me. Use me as you see fit. The things that I don't need to say, please refrain my mouth. The things that I do need to say that maybe I didn't add in my notes, I ask that you would just help me along the way. And Daddy, I ask that you would help this headache to calm down, because baby boy, we are thriving and surviving out here. Hello. But Daddy, I love you. And I ask to the one listening that you would bless them mentally, emotionally, physically, Lord. Bless their minds, bless their hearts, bless their souls, Lord. Bless them to be prosperous, bless them to be healed, bless them to have a relationship with you, to know you, to seek you, to search you, to try you, and just be with you, Daddy. Heal any broken hearts, Father. Please touch any torn down or hung down heads, Father. Please give strength and encouragement to those who just feel like they are trying to keep hope alive and trying to just fight, Lord. Help them to have rest in you, because you are the one who fights our battles. Even when we try so hard, Lord, even when we want to give it our all, even when we do give it our all, it's all because of you. And so, Lord, help them to see that in their own time and in your own way, Daddy. But all these things I thought to ask for, we thought to ask for, but didn't. Please grant in your grace. In Jesus' name we give thanks and praise. Glory be to God. Thank God. Amen. Hello. Welcome back. Welcome back to the podcast. I am very, very excited to be back doing a podcast. It's funny. So, I was looking on my phone, on my calendar, the way things was falling, because I'm like, okay, so I think it's been enough time now that since I've done a podcast, and because I have so much other things that I get into on the channel. And so when I was looking back at my calendar, I was like, oh crap, we are a little bit behind time. Of course, God's timing is great, so he saw fit for it to be now, but responsibility wise, I was a little bit behind on my weeks, but it's okay. It panned out the way it was supposed to. It's gonna work the way it's supposed to. So we're back. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, so before we get into it or get into the nitty gritty, we're going to go into the Bible breakdown, but I guess this is a nitty gritty. So this episode will be called Self Checkout. Now, I will put this in here. If you want to see a shorter version of Self Checkout, you can go check out Wednesday Wellness, because it will be posted there with the drawing. But this is just a more in-depth, you know what I'm saying, feel about it. So we are actually going to go. I do this. This is so funny. This is a thing that I do, and more or less I know it. So I know I've visited this story before, and we are gonna kind of talk about it again. And so this is kind of just like a little, hey, heads up. There's a lot of things that I may end up revisiting, or stories I may find myself going back to, simply because as I learn more and as the Lord is transforming me, and as he is really helping me to understand things. If I can go back and clarify things or give things in a different perspective, I'm all about it, because I don't ever want to lead anybody astray. I don't ever want to admit that I, didn't know something fully, or, that I made an error. Now, obviously, I do think if I get on here and talk about it, I should know what I'm talking about. You practice what you preach, but I more or less mean sometimes, when I go to church and I hear sermons, or even if I just listen to other people on YouTube, other people that I trust, and I feel like that the Lord is really filling them with the Spirit. Sometimes you can hear messages interpreted in a different way, and it's like a veil is lifted off of your eyes, and you're kind of like, aha, so like that's the truth in it, or sometimes I just feel like we can teach things incorrectly because we have been taught things incorrectly. But as you know more, you should always help to uplift your brother and your sister, because we're all learning together, and I am not trying to be out here, and I don't believe a lot of people are trying to be out here to be know-it-alls or be like, my way is truth in this life, because it's about the Lord at the end of the day. His way is the way. His way is the truth in life. So with anything, with any person that you listen to, that you watch, just make sure that you are going to the Lord, and that you are searching Him in all truth and understanding, and truly trying to see what it is He wants you to know, so that way without a shadow of a doubt you are on the straight and narrow. So I am so sorry if the mood is not moving. Like I say, I kind of got a headache. It's low-key been on and off for the past couple of hours, but it's one of those things where I really didn't want to delay this, and I kind of need to get it done tonight. So we're just gonna trug along, okay? And we're gonna do our best to get through this. Okay, so we are going to start. I'm gonna read you guys chapter 11 and chapter 12, and then get into it. I'm coming to you out of 2 Samuel. So I will say, for a little context about the person we're talking about, we're back talking about King David. Now, if you don't know, I have a love for King David out of this world, bro. Like, I am convinced, as much as I'm like, oh, I'm a one woman type of woman, you know what I'm saying? One man type of woman, you know what I'm saying? I want my man, and I want him to want me and not have no concubines. I ain't gonna lie. I probably would have been a concubine of David's. I'm just saying, okay? I'm just saying the man was beautiful. And like I say, he takes my heart for the simple fact that he was after God's heart. And I'm just like, David, you floored me in just like the most of ways. Yes, David. But anywho's enough about my Bible crush, because that's definitely what he is. Well, the only one who reigns outside of him is Jesus. Obviously, I got a crush on that man too. But after Jesus is David. So, whoo! So anywho's. David, if I don't know if you guys know, but Ruth and Boaz, if you don't know who Ruth and Boaz is, I definitely suggest you go and read their stories. The book of Ruth, it is right after Judges, bro. You should really get into it, okay? Because some things happen up in there, and that kind of kick starts like this whole lineage of people that ends up getting us to Jesus. And so in this lineage, before Jesus is on the scene, Ruth and Boaz marry, and they have a son named Obed, and Obed has a son named Jesse, and Jesse has a lot of children, and one of the children he has is David. David got anointed to be king. He was like the least of them, he wasn't really one that people would consider would be king. He was a shepherd boy. He took care of the animals. His brothers, they went out to battle, and they were taller in stature, and probably more handsome in stature, but they are not who the Lord was choosing. He was choosing David, because David was after his own heart, and he knew David in ways that, so Samuel went to go and see who it was that the Lord was choosing and anoint him as king. And so Samuel was looking at things one way, but God was looking at things another way, because God doesn't look at us how we look at ourselves. It's different. It's deeper. He knows things that we don't. And so, anywho's, David ends up going down to take lunch to his brothers, right? Right place, right time. There's a Philistine there, who's the giant Goliath, and he's talking trash. And David's like, who is this uncircumcised Philistine, bro? Like, you're gonna get all of this smoke quick, fast, and in a hurry. And even better, I don't even need this armor, bro. I don't even need this sword. I need a slingshot and a pebble, and that is it. And so he takes him out, then proceeds to take the giant's tool, and put an end to him with his own weapon. Hey, the Bible talks about that too, okay? I'm gonna have to see if I can get some scriptures up in there, because the way the head is set up, we're just okay. So going up into this, Lord, give me strength, because I really want to get through this. I really want to do this. So we're going to do our best to be good shepherd to go on. Okay, so chapter 11, 2 Samuel. David and Bathsheba's sin. And it came to pass after the year was expired, at the time when kings go forth to battle, that David sent Joab and his servants with him and all Israel, and they destroyed the children of Ammon and besieged Rabbah. But David tarried still at Jerusalem. And it came to pass in eventide that David arose from off his bed and walked upon the roof of the king's house. And from the roof he saw a woman washing herself, and the woman was very beautiful to look upon. And David sent and inquired after the woman, and one said, Is not this Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite? And David sent messengers and took her, and she came in unto him, and he lay with her, for she was purified from her uncleanness. And she returned unto her house. And the woman conceived and sent and told David and said, I am with child. And David sent to Joab, saying, Send me Uriah the Hittite. And Joab sent Uriah to David. And when Uriah was coming to him, David demanded of him how Joab did, and how the people did, and how the war prospered. And David said to Uriah, Go down to thy house and wash thy feet. And Uriah departed out of the king's house, and there followed him a mess of meat from the king. Okay, so I am not going to read all of that to y'all. I'm going to tell you what happens, but I hands down think that you should go and read the rest of this in detail for yourself. So let me give you a synopsis of what ends up happening, and then I'm gonna jump back into 12. So David has seen this girl named Bathsheba. I don't know why, but I find it so funny that her name is Bathsheba, and this is literally happening as she's taking a bath. Like, I don't know if that's truly her name, because like names change and stuff in the Bible as they wrote them, but it is wild to me that that is her name, bro. And this, like, you know what I'm saying? This is happening literally behind the bath. This is what this is taking place for. And so what happens is David, right? He goes up on the roof. He sees this beautiful woman, bro, and he's like, I gotta have her, right? So he's asking people, like, who is this dime piece? And they're like, that's Bathsheba, like, that's Uriah's wife, right? David goes and fetches for Uriah, talks for Uriah, and honestly, I'm just gonna have to put this in here once again. David did not do a lot of wrongs to me, by me, his other wife, his new generation wife that he ain't got no idea about. But he didn't do look wrong by me. This was just one of those things where I'm like, David, but I understand, and I'm gonna get into it too, but I'm just like, David, like, oh, David, it's rough out here. So David, he talks to Uriah, and he ends up setting up Uriah. He sets him up to be unalive. Now Joab comes into play, because Joab is supposed to carry this out. Like, he is David's right-hand man in this, right? And so Uriah was supposed to basically go back home and end up getting, unalived. But it doesn't happen like that. And so what ends up happening is they go to battle. David tells Joab, at this battle, make sure Uriah doesn't come home. Like, his wife is a widower, all right? And so David's like, you know what I'm saying? You gonna go out there, you gonna make sure this battle happens. Then I'm gonna slide in and I'm gonna come for Bathsheba. But I don't know. I had to make that joke. I don't know if it was like that, but you know what I'm saying? Like when people be scheming, that's how it sound. Like I'm gonna go ahead and if you know what I'm saying, Joab. You know what I'm saying, Joab. And so, bing, bing, bang, boom. That's what happens. Joab sends Uriah out. So Joab ends up, so David is like, make sure that he can't come back from this. Like when you send him out to battle, you make sure like he is sore and pressed on every side, right? So Joab sends him into the heart of the battle and is like, you shall not pass. It is honestly a sad story because it's like Uriah was wronged in this, and he ain't do no wrong to nobody. He just had a beautiful wife. Like, sue him for trying to have happiness and love, okay? So here we go in chapter 12. And the Lord sent Nathan unto David, and he came unto him and said unto him, there were two men in one city, the one rich and the other poor. The rich man had exceeding many flocks and herds, but the poor man had nothing, save one little ewe lamb which he had brought and nourished up. And it grew up together with him and with his children. It did eat of his own meat and drank of his own cup and lay in his bosom and was unto him as a daughter. And there came a traveler unto the rich man, and he spared to take of his own flock and of his own herd to dress for the wayfaring man that was come unto him, but took the poor man's lamb and dressed it for the man that was come to him. And David's anger was greatly kindled against the man, and he said to Nathan, as the Lord liveth, the man that had done this thing shall surely die. And he said, and he shall restore the lamb fourfold, because he did this thing, and because he had no pity. And Nathan said to David, thou art the man. Thus said the Lord God of Israel, I anointed thee king over Israel, and I delivered thee out of the hand of Saul. And I gave thee thy master's house and thy master's wives into thy bosom, and gave thee the house of Israel and of Judah. And if that had been too little, I would moreover have given unto thee such and such things. Wherefore hast thou despised the commandment of the Lord, to do evil in his sight? Thou hast killed Uriah the Hittite by the sword, and hast taken his wife to be thy wife, and hast slain him with the sword of the children of Ammon. Now therefore the sword shall never depart from thine house, because thou hast despised me, and hast taken the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be thy wife. Thus said the Lord, behold, I will raise up evil against thee out of thine own house, and I will take thy wives from before thine eyes, and give them unto thy neighbor, and he shall lie with thy wives in the sight of the sun. For thou didst this severely, but I will do this thing before Israel. So, let me put it right here. So, after this happens, right, David repents to the Lord. Bathsheba conceives a child, but she ends up losing that child because it was born in sin. Like, it was not supposed to be like that. So she ends up losing this child, right? David, in the midst of this, he basically finds himself at the temple on his face crying before God when he finds out that his child, is sick and that there is something wrong. So he lays before the Lord, like he's crying, he's fasting, praying for the Lord to take this cup away from him, but the Lord doesn't. He allows these things to happen. He didn't cause these things to happen, but he did allow David to go through this situation that David brought up on himself. And so we're going to go to So we're going to go to verse 24. And David comforted Bathsheba his wife, and went in unto her, and lay with her. And she bare him a son, and called his name Solomon. And the Lord loved him. And he sent by the hand of Nathan the prophet, and he called his name Jedediah, because of the Lord. And Jedediah means beloved of the Lord. And so what happens is David ends up fasting because his child is sick, and he wants to petition to the Lord for the child's life. The Lord does not answer his prayer. He takes the child for him and Bathsheba. When David finds out that the Lord has taken the child, he gets up, he cleans himself off, he goes and he eats. And his servants are kind of looking at him like, well, what just happened? Because you were the same man, just distraught and like prostrated on the floor. Now you out here eating? Like, what happened, Lord? And David is essentially like, the Lord didn't see it fit. The Lord took his life, so what else can I do? Like, the Lord's will be done. And so, well, the Lord, he didn't allow him to be born. And so what could David do? And so David, he repented. He cried before the Lord. He got up, washed himself off. And guess what? Him and Bathsheba, they got to go back and do it the correct way this time. And they did have a son. And his name was King Solomon, the other love of my life. That is so bad. But Solomon, he has my heart too. Like, their wisdom, that's really what makes me just love them. Their wisdom and their love for God, bro. And so, yes, David and Bathsheba, they end up having more kids, but Solomon is the kid, right? He's that guy. He's Solomon, right? He's one of the greatest kings, probably the greatest king in the earth. He had riches and wisdom and peace and prosperity, and that's what makes his reign so great, because he had peace, he had prosperity, he had riches from everywhere. He did so many things for the commercial side. He did so many things in the temple of the Lord, like had a queen come and give him more gold, bro. And anything she asked him, he knew. He was just a wise man. Now Solomon, just very quickly, he kind of was like his dad, bro. His heart was changed because of women and like their foreign gods. He allowed himself to get carried away by them and their strange gods. But I put that in there too because that kind of ties into everything going on here. And so a few things that I just want to point out here before I go into my section. One, Bathsheba was married, so she was just as guilty as David because she knew going up to the king's house she was married. So you know what I'm saying? She just shouldn't have went down on that route. David used murder. Not only did he sleep with this lady, you know what I'm saying? He didn't have the audacity to go and kill her husband because he wanted her that bad. And it's just like, as if sleeping with the lady wasn't enough, you went and offed her husband, bro. And she just went willingly with it. Now, I don't know if she knew that David had it done because, I don't think nobody outside of Job really knew what was happening, but I'm just saying, like, she wasted no time either going to be with David, whatever. Okay, and so I want everybody to really focus on this key point. In this whole situation, both sides wanted something that they couldn't have. It was forbidden. Bathsheba shouldn't have wanted a single king, a married king, because she was a married woman with a married husband. And David had, like the Lord said, the Lord had gave him all these things. He had wives, bro. It wasn't like he was lonely. He had the pick, all right? And he still wanted to pick Bathsheba, okay? Now, I also want to point out that even though they were both kind of selfish, as we all can be, and went after their own things, God still restored them. He didn't leave them broken. He didn't leave them ashamed and rejected. You know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't leave them out there with this heartache and pain. He was still in the midst of all of that. And he blessed them with another son, Solomon. And Solomon was beloved. His name literally means beloved of the Lord. And so in the end, though they went through this painful moment in season, the Lord still brought something beautiful and something beloved from the situation. Um, and the last point that I wanted to just staple in here as something to be mindful of is like, be careful who you drag into your mess. Because we don't hear about what happens to Joab right then and there, but the rest of the stuff that Joab was getting into and kind of how his life ended up is just like, he kind of kept digging ditches and being in places and positions that I felt like you should just stop because this is enough. But, you know, just saying, you can drag people into things and into situations unintentionally, and now they got smoke. And at the same time, you can be dragged into situations and now you got smoke just by association. So just be careful who you involve in your business, and everything you want to handle or do, especially when you're trying to make big boy moves like David did. Be a man enough to be on your big boy moves by yourself. But Joab could have been like, nah, King, this ain't the move. But he was like, oh, okay, we taking Uriah out? Wicked. And so I want to really retouch on this story. I kind of just feel like it's a story that needs to be retouched on and re-talked about. I've sat with it again. I've thought about it more. I've dealt with it. My stance doesn't change too much on it, but I really seriously still want to talk about this testimony because I don't ever know how people are gonna click videos or come across things. And so I just want to put this here because I have a new lens on this. So if you are new here, one thing about me is I never say the names of the individuals involved. I always tell the story. I try to stick to, the facts, what happened, because I am trying to get the point across. Not even about the situation, but what happened in that situation, like the deeper things that took place, what I felt, what I learned from it, and move on, because the names are not important. I don't harbor any hatred in my heart for anybody. It happened. We're adults. Move on. Like, we grow up, and I've come to realize we have all acted in ways and we will still act in ways that is not the best. And that doesn't mean we are bad people. We just have moments that are not the best of moments. Okay. And so, as always, as I tell my stories, I don't want hatred for people or for shade. The situation to me is messed up. And of course, I want people to be like, oh, like, that was sad that happened to you. But no, I talked to the Lord about it. Like, He has told me, He has reassured me. I know He is the one fighting my battles, So I am just telling you what happened to hopefully give you like a perception shift on it. And maybe you've been through something similar, or who knows, maybe this will help keep you from going through a situation like mine. So let's get into it. So long story short, I grew up on this chat world called IMVU. Was really no place for a kid at the time. My mom did not want me on there, but me being a kid, I used to sneak and get on. And then I had older cousins that, kind of enabled me, because we were all young. We didn't really know the depths of what we were getting into and doing. Back then it was like, you want to get on this virtual world, girl, come over here. Like, your mama not here, get on this virtual world, Now being an older woman, I kind of realized like how those websites, I feel like personally, groomed me, play with my mind, and did the same thing with other children. And to be fair, I don't know, it could have just started out as something that was supposed to be innocent, but even when I was on Identity and I was a young girl, they were doing things inappropriately, like talking about adult themes and allowing you to be able to experience adult themes. Now they have things like access pass where you have to be certain aged, and you can still lie about it. But back then it was more like kind of just out there in your face. Everybody was in your face, and it was just like, oof. Okay. And so point is, I was on IMVU. I got off. I ended up going back into role playing, and I ended back up on IMVU. So there was this person that I ended up getting involved with. And when I first talked to this person, especially because it was under role play, and that's a whole nother thing too, but under role play, it's like IMVU So IMVU is a virtual world where you chat and you have these avatars that you dress up in these cute outfits or whatever have you. Role playing is like you take on the form of these celebrities, right? And you pretend to be them. And you create worlds about them and stuff like that. I have no shame in admitting, like, yes, I've done this. Now I probably ain't gonna hands down tell y'all who I used to role play. I mean, I might. I don't know, I don't want to have shame in that either. It happened. It was a part of my life. And so anywho's, this person that I got involved with, at the time I thought that perhaps they could have been a guy, but I had a suspicion, of course, that they were a girl because most of us were girls at the time, role playing. And so I ended up befriending this person, and it just so happens that we both love playing IMVU, and so we end up getting on there together. And I'm not going to lie, there was signs. It was like I knew. So when we were first talking on Facebook through the role play or whatever, I can't sit here and tell you the Lord didn't warn me, because he did. I just had this instinctual feeling that this was a situation I should not get involved in. And every time this person came around with me to talk to me or anything, it was kind of as if the Lord was telling me, you don't need to get close to this person. Like, you need to stay away from them. But at the time, I was not very good with my discernment. I didn't really have a deep relationship with God, right? Like, I knew he governed my life. Of course, I had got baptized, and I believed when I died, like I wanted to go to heaven, but I was still struggling with a lot of things. At this point in my life, I was dealing with insecurities, the whole shebang, bro, and being in love was something that I heavily wanted really, really badly, and so I think I kind of ignored warning signs in any form of fashion because I was craving any kind of attention, even if it was the wrong kind of attention. And so I remember vividly me and this person having a conversation, and their words to me were, "You seem very guarded, like you have your walls up and you just don't want to let me in." And so after that conversation, I am a guarded person. I have been guarded. Now I feel like I've set boundaries a little bit better so I know my limits, but I was so rejected and I was so hurt and just so sheltered from like the abuses of the world that I didn't really feel like vibing with people. I kind of felt like if somebody came to me and they were being overly nice, it kind of just had my BS radar going off, and I'm like, no, something's here, like you want something. And I guess in hindsight, that's what was happening here, but we just didn't know at the time. So point is, yes, I had my guard up, but because I had my guard up, I thought that there was some truth into what they were saying. I assumed that I was just being judgmental and picky and like I was not giving this person a chance. And so I end up dropping my guard, giving him a chance. We get on IMVU together, right? And immediately I see this guy avatar. Well, this guy avatar looks like everything I would want a real life guy to look like. Like, he is fitting the aesthetic of somebody, I would find very attractive. If this was an anime, okay, that guy on IMVU, heart was in pieces. Like, heart was completely shattered. And my mom, she's always like, I don't, understand how you can like these virtual people. And I'm like, listen, anime, okay? Itachi, that was my baby. People can't tell me I'm not married to him. It's just a thing, okay? And so this guy on IMVU was like, in my mind, I'm like, yes, this is the aesthetic I'm going for. Like, my girl would look good with him, And so it kind of starts off as friends. Then it kind of goes into things that are inappropriate. And I'm not going to lie. There was like things like sexting, just real inappropriate conversations that I shouldn't have been carried on in, but I was caught up in it. And I just want to be honest and admit to you, like, that was something that was going on. So it was that, and that kind of, and I really put that in there to say, the sexting kind of took it into something that was just even more, because it started off innocent, right, as the guise of just being friends, but then it quickly backfired, or quick fired, dumpster fired, and spread into something else. And trickling and stemming from what that led to, then we get into the relationship, which was just a bunch of toxic knows, okay? Everybody, everything about that situation was wrong. So then we come into the knowledge that I learned that this is not a guy, this is a girl, confirming my suspicions. I should have been out the door then. I should have nipped it in the bud. I should have stopped it. I should have been done with it. We did not. We continued to carry it on. At first it was more or less of like, well, this is just role play, so like the real us, we are not getting involved. But then it started to merge between like, okay, feelings are getting crossed and it's no longer just a screen thing. And then it was like my feelings got blurred and this other person, their feelings got blurred. And I do believe they were trying to keep their feelings from getting blurred. But I don't know. I just feel like with any relationship that you deal with, if you deal with a person long enough, I just don't personally see how you can't get attached to somebody. I don't know if that's just because I'm very sensitive. Like I get attached very easily to people. And so, but like, just for instance, when I watch cases about FWBs going wrong, I'm like, but what did you think was gonna happen? Like, if you have these relationships and you're being intimate with people, you're going to catch feelings. And especially in this case, this girl and I, we had talked every day. Like, I was waking up, talking to her, going to work, talking to her at work, driving home, talking to her, going in the stores, talking to her, could be at home talking to her, could be talking to my family and still talking to her, could have my niece, my nephew around. And because, so this person, she lived so far away. She lived like on the other side of the world. And so our time zones were kind of like crap. And so because of that, we were always trying to find times to be with each other. Now it wasn't too bad. I believe I was like 2 or 3 hours behind them, somewhere in there, 2 3 hours. But it wasn't too bad. But still, because the time zones was different, we were trying to find times to make it work. And so yeah, we ended up, I guess you could say, we ended up dating. Feelings were established, there was things there, but then the conversation starts carrying over into real life. Then there's plans being made to meet them, in real life, to have more with them essentially in real life. And so I want to unpack this because a lot of things came in play here. So for one, I always knew, even in the back of my mind, this would never work because they don't follow God. Like, that was something I had already knew from the get-go, because I knew my parents was going to want somebody who was after the Lord. And I knew, for me personally, it matters that somebody I marry, they believe in God. Like, they worship him, they reverence him. They have to know my father, because that is who I trust. That is who my life is committed to. I am for the Lord. He is my rock. He is my strength. He is my life. Like, he is the reason I'm breathing, literally. He gave up his life, his authority in heaven for somebody like me. So obviously I'm going to do my best to emulate, his love in my life, and to be a follower of him for all the days of my life. And so my partner has to be of that background. At the time, I knew that. And I don't know why I still try to make excuses. Or I guess going back to the whole, I wanted to be loved, I allowed excuses to happen, And so then after that, I remember her and I, we had this particular disagreement because she lets it be known that she's atheist. And I'm like, okay, this is flag number 2, bro. Like, I'm still taking things from this girl. And so she's like, what about all these people who are out in the streets suffering? Or, like, you talk about this great life you have, but it's not a great life. You're just lucky. And she wanted me to believe essentially that God was not at work here, and like she could believe in the devil, but she couldn't believe in God. And y'all, the audacity of this girl, because even when she was flirting in her language with somebody else, she was a cheater too. That's another. But so she was flirting with somebody in her language, and she said that she was the snake in the garden. She wanted to be the snake in this girl's garden. Now, these people, everybody that she flirted with, they didn't know the real her. They didn't know that she was a she behind the screen of a guy. I knew these things. I hands down knew these things, and I kept this secret for her because it wasn't my business to tell. You live whatever life you want to live. And so back to the atheist thing, especially now, here, years later after this original conversation, I can say wholeheartedly, hands down, she was wrong. I'm not just lucky. I am blessed. I am favored. And I don't want to say that with like this. I guess in a way, like I do want to be cocky about it. Like I do want to have arrogance about it. And not even like, I guess I just have pride in it. Like the Lord did favor me. He looked up on my heart and he saw me, like I cried out to him. I asked him for help. I asked him to live in me. I asked him to be with me, and he has. I asked him to show me my ways, to clean me up, because obviously I was not walking on the path meant for us to walk, and before that, before I fell on my face and had to be like, Lord, heal me of this. Yes, he blessed me. He favored me. He provided for me, and it's not fair, and I don't know why he did it, but he did do it for me, and I just truly believe that at the time, yeah, I believed I was lucky, but now I just see how God's hands have been on me my whole life. And some people call it luck, but that's not the case. If you are chosen by God and he loves you, he just does things for you, and it's unexplainable. You don't ask for these things. He just allows it. And the basis of that conversation was me and her, we would do this thing where you could like shop together. I would always buy things that I shopped for because I had a job that I worked and I was able to afford to do that, and she was not able to. So in her mind, I just had the silver spoon. Like I was just this spoiled girl from America, who didn't value anything, but that's not true. I know what it's like. I'm black. I am black, okay? Yet my ancestors knows what it's like to be poor. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially in America, our ancestors, they worked unfairly treated, beaten, abused. We can go on and on. People know about it. I ain't gotta, harp on it. And so even in my family, like I grew up watching my mom like sacrifice things for the sake of me and my brother, making sure we did have, making sure we were good, and like never had a want or a need for anything. I know what that's like. However, if I am in a job now, and that's with anything, if I'm in a job and I'm working a job and I'm working hard, why shouldn't I treat myself with nice things? At the time, it was the game because I didn't go anywhere. I didn't do anything. I didn't buy clothes to go anywhere because I never went anywhere. But if that's my money that the Lord has blessed me with and I've worked for it, why do you have a problem with how I spend my money? And how am I being spoiled or privileged? And I guess, I am in that regard, yeah, I am spoiled because he blessed me with the money to have. So how can you be mad at me for that? And so, anywho's, even to her conversation about people suffering, things happen in this world that we don't know why things happen. Some things happen for the glory of the Lord. Some things the Lord did not, he did not purposely do that to them people, but he allows things to happen. And so even with questions like that, I don't know those answers. The Lord knows those answers though, but to say like that the Lord want all these people to be on the streets like suffering and poor, and just living these rough lives, I just don't believe that. I don't believe God would just want us to have these harsh lives for the sake of having these harsh lives. I don't believe that he just creates his people, his babies, his treasures, just to see them, what I'm saying, like play this cruel dance and game with them where they struggle, where they, just have these horrible lives. I just don't feel like the Lord would create us for things like that, because he went to a cross and he died for us, okay? And so to insinuate that he specifically causes these people to be out here to be poor, to be impoverished in X, Y, and Z, that's not true, that's not fair, and that's not right. And so going on, after that, A lot of things just kind of start happening in this relationship that was not so good. So I remember one time I was with my best friend. We are still best friends now, but this thing was so bad about me spending time with this girl that I was literally with my best friend and on my laptop at the same time. And you know, I think then I started to kind of realize that I had a problem with this whole online dating thing. Because I was so infatuated with her time, with her presence, with her energy, something that was so small and minuscule. Like when I had first started back on IMVU, even friends with her, like I was not on there at all that much. But as her and I got closer, started spending more time, I found myself being drawn back into that world all over again, wanting to buy things in this game, profits that I never saw back, wanting to have this life, living this life with this girl that I should have never been living. And, my relationships and my life was struggling because of it. I wasn't spending time with my mom and my dad like I should have when I had the opportunities to spend time with them. And bless the Lord that I have had time to go back and maybe not necessarily right the wrongs from my past, but I was able to get it right this time and learn from my mistakes and spend time with my parents and be, there and present with my family, be a better best friend to my best friend. And so, um, at the time that like this girl and I was involved with each other, that's kind of like when my adult movie addiction started to grow and spiral out of control. And I feel like that's kind of when I became confused in my life, like what I liked. Because I'm not gonna lie, at one point I questioned, like, well, do I like girls? But then I was like, no, I don't, and like I'm talking about this because I just kind of feel like this is important. It is important who you hang out with, it is important what you give your time and energy to, and truly what you feed your soul. Because I was confused, I knew naturally that I craved a guy. Like I knew I wanted a husband, I knew I wanted to be married with children, I knew I wanted all that to happen the right way. But as I got involved with this girl, on this online world, then it was like my mind was opened up and explored into new territories, and I debated on if I could have a girlfriend, you know what I'm saying? And like, even y'all, this was so like deep that the girl even discussed, like having a sex change. And she was like, we could be together then, we can have babies then. And y'all, I was so caught up in this delusion that I was like, yeah, yes, we could do that. But I'm telling you, when you know the Lord, it does not matter how you try to fix things up, how you try to make things right. They're just not right. I knew even then, I'm like, it doesn't matter if she gets a sex change, she was still a girl. So I know Judgment Day comes, the Lord's not going to be like, okay, yeah, she changed it to a boy, so you can come in here. He's going to be like, no, this was my daughter, and you, as my other daughter, not only did you allow this to happen, you watched her pervert herself. You were okay with this. You allowed this to happen, and you had the audacity to marry her and try to have babies. Like, what? Excuse me, and you think you coming up in here? Like, you think you about to live in here with me? Depart from me. I never knew you. And I don't ever want to hear the Lord tell me he never knew me. That would break my heart. That would break me into pieces quicker than anything in my life. Like, that is the one thing I don't ever want to hear. So I'm talking about, this is going to be something imprinted in me until I die. Because I don't ever want to hear that come out of his mouth. No. And so, finally, honestly, one day I just got tired of the back and forth. We were arguing so much. I'm talking about, y'all, I was beefing with this girl about things that really didn't even matter. I'm talking about the most smallest of things that shouldn't even matter was an issue with her. I was never right. I was always wrong. Anytime I tried to defend myself, I was the bad guy. I had a victim mentality, and all those things played into how I felt about myself. I was constantly insecure. My overreacting got worse. I overthought everything. I felt like the issue all the time. I constantly stayed apologizing to people. I constantly tried to make amends and fix things, even when when it wasn't my fault, because I truly believed that everything was my fault, that it was a reaction because of me. That, if a person hurted me, it was my fault. If this girl, when she went out and cheated on me or whatever, it was my fault because I was too clingy, or because I didn't listen to her, or because I was simply not good enough. That backfired into my other relationships. I felt like I had to be such a perfect person for God to love or accept me, because I had put myself on this performance-based platter based off of that situation and countless of other situations that was like that throughout, my life. I remember telling my best friend one night, me and this girl had an argument so bad that, like, when I went to sleep, y'all, I cried. And I cried so hard, I thought my heart was literally about to give out. Like, I thought I was going to, like, meet the end myself. And I used to pray these prayers, and I used to be like, Lord, please let this girl walk away from me, because she's killing me. Like, I am not going to be able to away from her, because I felt like I was so in love with her. I had finally found a person who not only needed me as much, like, she needed me as much as I needed her. And I thought I could save her. I could help her. Now, what was I going to save her from or help her with? I don't know, because we both ended up out here in the deep blue sea without any life raptors, bro. We are both drowning out here. And it was just rough, and it was hard, and finally one day I realized with this situation, like, I'm letting this girl treat me like garbage, bro. You don't even live in the States. Like, you're not even in my area code, first of all, so you can't be disrespecting me like that. Two, you know what? Like, your relationship, I know, is fickle. Your relationship, I know I can never marry you. I can never have more with you. So why am I sitting here wasting time and energy trying to be with you when I can put my resources into other things, especially when you don't value me as a person to meet me in the middle? You're constantly putting me down. You're constantly belittling me. You're constantly talking to me like I am the gum on the bottom of your shoe, and I am actively allowing you to treat me like scum and like filth. And going back really quickly to David, well, I'll finish this up and then I'll go into it. And so, one day I messaged her. Well, really what I had started doing was taking breaks from IMVU. I had left IMVU so many times, it wasn't even funny. Even the people I knew personally was like, you leaving this month or you gonna stay? And so, the day I finally left, and y'all, it was so bad. Like, we had even bought these marriage badges on IMVU. So technically I was married to her on this, you know what I'm saying, on this fake world. Our avatars was married. We were tied. You know what I'm saying? And so when I walked away from the situation, one of the last things she told me was, I really do hope you'll come back for one last time. And, even that kind of wanted to break my heart, because I felt like she was telling me in a way this was all just kind of like a game to her. I still do, hands down, though, wholeheartedly believe in the end, I was one of the only people who truly cared for her. And that just breaks my heart, because I feel like if we would have just stayed friends, we would have been the best of friends. We would have probably still been friends to now. However, I cannot sit here. And that's one thing I never wanted to do. I never wanted to sit and make it seem like she just seduced me into this world and she threw me in the flames, and like I had no part to play, because I had every part to play. Like, she wasn't the only one saying things. I was also being seducing, and I should have never even allowed her to, think that way towards me. Because there's even this passage in the Bible that I have to pull up, but it's like, don't cause your brother to stumble. Like, you supposed to be helping them. So what am I doing sitting here like teasing this girl in those ways intended for just my husband? You know what I'm saying? Like, I am adding flames to the fire, and I know that I'm adding flames to the fire. Like, another backstory, and my mom, she's like, you shouldn't be proud of these things. And I know that it's not a good flex to have, let me put it like that, but I used to write smut, okay? So, and I I got a large following from that, and especially as a virgin, of course, I pride myself on these things because I don't know, I'm BSing you and this story right now. And so, I know that I know my way around words. I'm gonna just put it like that. And so I knew what I was doing. You know what I'm saying? All the drama that we got into, everything, I had a part to play. It was not solely just her, it was me too, because I willingly allowed myself to get drawn into that world. It was even worse because technically before, so me and this girl, we went back and forth for roughly 2 years. Well, no, we'll say about three. We'll say 2 to 3 years. We'll give it that range. And so, but y'all, it felt like 200 or 300 years, okay? But the situation lasted for about 2 to 3 years. And when I finally just decided to be done with her, it was more or less just kind of like I was fed up by the disrespect, by everything that happened, and I think it had got to a point where I felt like she couldn't even be a friend to me. Like, you were hurting me and betraying me, even if, her basis was, well, this is a fake world and like, it's just our avatars. You as a friend should have had enough love and decency for me to not, you know what I'm saying, display yourself out here or betray me with other people in ways that make it seem like you don't value me or my avatar account or anything about us. And so what I take away from this relationship, whatever it was with her, was like David, I wanted something that I should have never wanted. Okay, I just should have never wanted it. And my whole life I have been looking for love. I talk about it on the channel a lot, but I was abused as a child, in that way. And just the spirit of rejection was something that I am not unaccustomed to. I had many guys who, put it in my face all in school how I wasn't really girlfriend worthy, but the same guys would want to be the ones to have one night stands. And when I did not put out, I wasn't good enough. I picked up weight, so I felt more insecure about myself. And I was just looking for love in places that were not right, And so to me, that was the first time I took a stance to really choose to not only love myself, but to love God, to put Him first and to be like, okay, this is not according to your will and your ways, so let's nip this in the bud. And the first time I broke up with them, I broke up with this person, bro. And so what happened was, after I broke up with them, I went and asked my aunt a question. But when I asked my aunt this question, I did not pose this question in the form of it being a girl. I just made it a general open-ended question. And based off the answer she gave me, I decided to go back and jump back in that situation. But I know if my aunt would have knew it was a girl I was talking about, she wouldn't have even told me the answer to begin with. And I think I just got so drawn to this person that on one hand, I felt bad because I'm the type of person, if you just block me or if we have this big falling out and we can't talk about it, it does something to me, like it triggers me. And so because I did that to them, I felt really guilty. I blocked them without any explanation. I said some harsh words, and that's just not me. So trying to make amends and fix the situation and make it better, I ended up getting myself drugged deeper into a situation that I was never meant to be in the beginning. But the Lord allowed me to go through that, even though I kept praying for Him, like, take this cup from me, take this cup from me, take this cup from me. I still would go and deal with that girl every single day. And once again, I was the one who got myself caught up in this situation. So yes, even though I prayed to the Lord, and even though, yes, He did deliver me and He did heal me, I had to walk that out too. I had to own up to what I did, and I had to go on, about my business. And glory be to God. At the end of the day, she wasn't even the one who walked away from me. I walked away from her. And yes, to me, that is a victory, simply because I pray for the Lord to let her be the one to walk away from my enemy. And I'm not saying she's my enemy, but that spirit, that I was dancing with, I wanted that spirit to walk away from me. But the Lord gave me enough strength and enough courage to walk away from that spirit and choose him first, And so after her and I, like, we said our goodbyes or whatever, I didn't look back. I didn't go check on her. I stopped getting on 𝕉𝖆. Like, I let that go altogether. And y'all, it's like everything broke. That same year, I decided to stop watching the adult movies. That same year, I kind of fell on my face before the Lord and was just like, look, I'm busted. I'm disgusted. I'm broken. And I just need your help, your guidance, your deliverance. And he did. He took my life and he has transformed it into something that I don't even quite know all the time what it is. Sometimes I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, who are you? Because you have to understand, for me, for a long time in my life, I looked in the mirror and all I could do was be ashamed of myself. I was so big. I was so overweight. I was so unhappy. I ate. I hid on my laptop on 𝕉𝖆 all day. I didn't want the world to see me. I just felt disgusted. I just felt like I was taking up space. I had all these hopes and dreams and all these beliefs that I wanted, but at some point they kind of just started slipping through the cracks because I was just settling. I was just allowing my life to become, what it was. And so 2 years later, after all of this is said and done, I've lost weight. First of all, I lost weight. And then let me too say, around this time, when this girl and I, like, really started hitting it off and, like, making our relationship official, I cut my hair that same year. I cut my hair because I said I totally wanted to start my life over. I wanted to be, because my hair was like right here, straight, flat ironed, or whatever it was, we had the length. And so I just wanted to cut my hair. I wanted to go natural. My mom, she was natural, so I wanted to go natural and, just start over. So I'm talking about, like, all of this. I had a little fro, y'all. Like, can y'all imagine summer like this? Because that's how we were looking, babe. Not even that back there, just straight, more or less like this. It's so yes, 2 years later, 3 years after the aftermath of that situation, my hair is growing out. I've lost weight, and truly, I want this to be a cautionary tale, because above all else, I found love, and the love truly came from God, and I can't explain it. It is just something you simply have to go through for yourself. He was so kind with me, and he was so compassionate with me. And even in dealing with this situation, yes, he did remind me that this is sin, this is wrong because she's a girl. He also reminded me, on top of that, you just deserve more. I've heard a lot of times girls say that they end up with girls or guys with guys because, well, he's not going to do me like that. Yes, they will. It does not matter if you are dating a girl or a guy. If they want to cheat on you, they're going to cheat on you. It does not, that is not logical to think just because you date the same sex as you, like, you're not going to get heartbroken. You're going to get heartbroken because we as humans break each other's hearts, like, we don't always try to do that. Not all of us. Sometimes it's just like that, like, we have good intentions, but it comes off wrong. And so if you are a person who thinks that, like, by dating the same sex, you're getting out of heartache, no, quit it. And if you're debating on going down that route for that, no, quit it, okay? Because that is not true. Cheaters are gonna cheat. It has literally nothing to do with you. That's something in them that they have to work with, and so let the Lord love you. don't be in such a hurry to fall in love. And I know for me, I'm a hopeless romantic, right? I'm like, at 27, I'm be married, I'm have my family, like I'm have all 15 kids, like it's gonna be peaches and greens and a great time, but I had to first let the Lord love me. I didn't know what love was. I thought I knew what love was, but I didn't know what love was. I didn't know what a true relationship, a stable relationship looked like. I didn't know about none of that. And truly, it wasn't until I started to seek the Lord and have a relationship with Him and really have a relationship, like not just the cute little prayers in the morning, but like seriously walk with Him every day, hours for a day, hours at night, searching His sermons, listening to His word, reading His word, everything in between. It wasn't until I started to cultivate that relationship with Him that I started to realize this is what love looks like, and this is how I want to be loved. So now in any relationship, I know my boundaries. I know what I want a friendship to look like. I know what I want in my husband, I know how I want my family to love me. I know what I expect of my friends. Now, granted, I know also too, some people you just have to meet them where they're at, and we are all not the same. My point is, you're never going to know how to properly love other people or yourself unless you love the Lord first and allow Him to love you. His love is safety and security. That situation, like, yes, okay, it was wrong because she was a girl and I'm not supposed to be down that road with her, I'm just not. There was a lot of things that could have harmed me and that did harm me in that relationship too. You know what I'm saying? And I think it goes back to even David and Bathsheba, and with anybody, when you play with sin, you get hurt because it opens you up to things and it exposes you to things that God never intended for you to see or have to deal with or have to experience. That whole situation with heartache and pain, I could have avoided that, but I was tempted. That wasn't my thorn in the side. Well, I guess that was my thorn in the side, and I was just like, like it started out the apple and then it ended up the thorn. Yes, that was just a situation, like I say, that went from bad to absolutely worse. And I had to repent. I had to, admit my wrongdoings, and I had to put a stop to it. But like David, when the Lord allowed the things to happen, and fall in place, I got up. We started working out. We started seeking the Lord, trying to better ourselves. And now here we are on the up and up. And so, just be careful. I know that sometimes in life you just want things, right? You get these urges. It's the flesh, right? Like, I'm telling you, I was telling my best friend, there's some people that I'm like, the Lord has had to sit me on a rock, truly, because I'm just going to say the Lord's sons are beautiful, right? They're just beautiful, and you got to control yourself. You just got to know, because that is for your husband, all right? And you shouldn't be putting your eyes on other people. So I get it. You want things, you know what I'm saying? You want to experience things. You like, let me see what this water tastes like. Don't taste the water, okay? Do not drink the water. Stay far from it. And in all honesty, teach yourself how to die to the desires and things you want of your flesh. One thing I kind of have felt like, I guess, guilty by, and I don't even know why, but one thing I have kind of felt guilty about, not even kind of, I felt guilty about being a virgin, because people kind of make it seem like being a virgin is uncool. Everybody got something to say about a virgin, but I am a virgin by choice. I choose to follow God. I choose to wait on my husband. I choose to save myself, because it's right. Yeah. Because I don't want to be hurt. I ain't trying to throw it back for a real one. And then the next night he throwing it back for 5 more real ones, or he letting 5 more real ones throw it back for him. I'm just not here for it, but like truly, giggles aside, I love the Lord. I love him and I honor him. And so, when you choose to say no to different situations, it's not to be a stickler in the mud. It's not because, like, oh, I'm just trying to be holier than you. But in a sense, like, our air is different. No, I'm not holier than you. We both sinners. We both out here thriving and surviving. But I chose to seek the Lord and follow after him in his truths. And it is because of his truths that, I choose to live my life in a way that honors him. The basic minimums of what he asked us to do, I want to do. And, yes, because he said it, but more or less because I see now the implications behind it. He doesn't want us to sin because he doesn't want us to get hurt. He doesn't want us to be separated from him. And so, I just want to caution you, if you are on, online games or online forums, just be careful with the company you keep, even if it's just with friendships that seem harmless at first, that seem like they can't go anywhere. I truly feel like the Lord gives you discernment and he lets you know instinctually, like, you might want to watch that situation because out of a 10, this is an 8. Like, you need to put your radars on, bro, and be peeping and beeping, okay? He will let you know. So listen to him because he is your friend. He is your safe space, okay? And I just want to be encouragement to you. And, like I say, share my story. I don't have no shame about it. We've been out here thriving and surviving in a lot of communities, okay? We've tried to find love and friendships in any form that we can get. And that has just kind of been the way they were. And like I say, especially on IMVU, this person did, like, the way they dressed up this avatar, hands down, was somebody, I would see on the streets and, like, go make a bad decision with in a quick, fast, and in a heartbeat, and so, and even that was a lot to say. I was like, you need to really, work on this. But when I really start thinking about what love is, it's more than just appearances. You can be the finest man on this earth, but if you don't have a heart to follow God, if you're rude, if you're mean, all of that jazz, it's not gonna make me like you anymore, and so just always remember, looks are great, but they're not everything. Personality should be first. What do they believe in? Who do they trust? How are they walking? How are they talking? You truly need to know a person and know them internally, not just externally, because the externals are just the benefits, okay? And so that is all for this series. Welcome back, friends. Welcome back. Well, for this episode, like I say, I really feel like I could go on tangents and go on and on and on about this. I just feel passionate and strong, I suppose. And, I know what it feels like when you want love. And so I hope nobody feels judged or like I'm coming for your throat. Because at the end of the day, like I say, we are all out here living our lives, And so while you are living your life and however you live it, just remember to put the Lord first, okay? You know what's right and wrong. And if you don't know, he will send you guide along the way to show you what is right and what is wrong. And so you really have to search the Lord and seek him for yourself and know, when you are in error. And even outside of that, just have a relationship with him. Because I believe that the Lord just wants us to love him. Like, that's the biggest thing. Yes, he wants us to know his ordinances, his laws, his rules, how to govern ourselves, but that's because we are set apart and holy, and that's to show us how to live different lives and how to show us that we are marked differently from unbelievers. That's what that is for. But the new commandment that he gave us was to love him first and to love our brothers and sisters. It's all rooted in love. God loved us so much that he created us to have this beautiful life. And even when we messed up, he got off his throne. He came down from heaven. He put on a meat body for us. He took on the form of a son named Jesus, and he died. He unalived for us. He died for us, and he hung on a cross. I'm not gonna, if they strike for that, whatever. But that's what he did. And so just listen to God. He will direct your steps. He will give you love, reassurance, and comfort. Know that you have somebody who has been where you are and feel what you feel. But online relationships, especially the ones that are laced on avatars or role play, they're not real, and you deserve something real. You deserve real, authentic people who are going to love on you and make time for you and have your best interests at heart. And so I hope you feel encouraged by my testimony. And like I say, I hope more than anything, it can just give you eye-opening perspectives. Like I said, that situation opened up a lot of more hurts for me than I would have liked. And just exposed me to a lot of things, like I say, and a lot of confusion within my own mind, a lot of scary questions and thoughts that we shouldn't have even thought, or had or experienced. But glory be to God that He kept me through it all, my mind, my heart, my life, because it could have just been so much worse, And so, please please comment, please subscribe. Tell me about a time where the Lord really got you out of something, or if there is something that you really want the Lord to get you out of. If you feel comfortable enough telling us, please tell us so that we can pray for you. I can pray for you because I believe in prayer and I love praying for people. And so, be encouraged. Hit the bell for when I post. And subscribe. We got a lot on the channel. But thank you for all coming back. And like I said, I know mood wise I'm probably like here, but I'm trying to give it to you. The headache's kind of doing like this, but I feel like I got my point across. The main point is, all that glitters is not gold. Foreign things, and foreign I mean, like if you're married and you know that single lady looking good, she's a foreign thing. Do not touch her, okay? Leave her be. Do not play with things you're not supposed to play with. Don't desire things that are not good for you, because they are not good for you and they hurt you. You get hurt. David ended up experiencing a whole lot of hurt because of this situation, and we can be the perpetrators of our own hurt. So truly, just if it is not for you, or if there's a roadblock sign there for any reason, just know that the Lord probably put that roadblock sign there to protect you and keep you safe. Not to just deny you and tell you can't have it, but there is a deeper reason for that, and your daddy knows, and he can give you the answer as to why. And so, please always do remember that the Lord does love and bless you. May He keep you. I believe in you. I love you. And I hope whenever you view this, you have the most amazing of days or the most incredible of nights. Goodbye, guys.